Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Thank you for joining us for a Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. Our guest, Bianca Ward, the owner and artist of All Things Be Alexis. She makes handmade jewelry and accessories, and each piece is made with 100% pure love, time, and energy. Welcome, Bianca.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much. I have given our audience a brief snippet of your bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience any information you'd like us to know about you and your company?
Okay. I started June 2013 completely by accident. I often describe myself as an accidental entrepreneur since I've always worked in nonprofit and social services. I put some fabric on a bracelet one day, and then All Things Be Alexis was born. Since then, it's grown in ways that I couldn't even imagine. Different types of products that I've been able to create, different markets I've been able to tap into. I'm using my business to launch a scholarship fund for Black girls planning to major in business, marketing, or related field. So what started out simply as a hobby has really taken on a life of its own. I'm very, very proud.
Now, are you doing this full time? Are you doing this part time? Tell us about that.
So no, this is definitely my part-time passion, but full-time dream. Like I mentioned, I do work full-time for a nonprofit in DC, a very full-time job, also raising 2 kids and husband and all of those good things. But I always try to make as much time as possible for my business because I really hope that it is my future and one day my sole source of income.
Now, I heard you say that it was kind of an accidental, the way you started your business, but what was that aha moment, Bianca, that you knew that it was going to be successful?
When I started receiving just really positive feedback, I think I was very amazed by the response that I was getting from people from what felt so simple and easy and not complex in terms of my jewelry, really made people happy. And I think it's always been a very humbling experience. I started to kind of make the jewelry and just wear it, just myself. And then other people started to ask about it, friends and family, and different avenues just started to open up where I could start to sell it and reach different people in different markets. And so then it was probably, I think I was about maybe 4 or 5 months into, I guess, making it for profit, where I said, wait, you know what, this is a little bit bigger than putting up a table ads, in my backyard to sell the jewelry or at a farmer's market. Like, this could really be something special. And prior to this, I'll be honest and say I lacked follow through in some of just goals and dreams. But I think All Things Be Alexis was one of the first things that I really put heart, soul, and energy into. Definitely, it was always on my mind first thing in the morning and when I was going to bed at night, how I could grow, expand, what I could try differently, how I could create new designs. And so when I realized that it was really consuming heart and mind, I said, you know what, I really have to go for this and see what happens.
So tell me, Bianca, how do you define success? What does that look like for you? And how long did it take to manifest in your life?
Success for me, having always worked in nonprofit and in social service, success I've always defined by helping other people succeed. So on this other side with entrepreneurship, success for me is, honestly, I think it's return customers. As easy as that may sound, I have an amazing fan base, but I don't know if I love that word, but a group of people who look for my jewelry, are eager to find out what I'm doing next, want to wear it and share it and buy it for their friends and their parents or whoever, and just want to share what I'm doing. And it's really an amazing, humbling experience when I get messages in my inbox about how my jewelry may make someone feel empowered, or compliments that they received, or how it makes them feel beautiful. For me, that's success. It's really being able to share something I love doing with something else and getting that same positive feedback. That has been the first biggest moment for me, I think, is just really seeing the jewelry grow and seeing the response and feedback. I'm excited about the scholarship fund that I just started. And so I think that will be another successful milestone if I'm able to, one, raise the money I hope to raise, and to be able to contribute to the future of other Black girls like myself who are interested in business and making that plan early. So again, helping others, making other people smile, making them feel beautiful, empowered, that's successful. I know now being an entrepreneur, it takes a while before you really start to see profit and money and growth. So I can't necessarily look at success in a monetary way yet, but just ways to grow the business and reach more people is how I'm defining success right now.
You talked about your fan base, and how did you grow that? Let's talk about your marketing strategies. Did you grow it organically? Did you grow it via social media? Can you share with our audience tips, strategies, and techniques that you personally used to grow this amazing fan base that you were talking about that has really gotten behind your products?
Very organically, I think, is how it first began. Really just starting with my network. I think that has been just the biggest, I guess, source of free advertisement in a sense. Sharing it with the women from my church, my friends at work, my family, telling them about what I'm doing. They've been amazing in helping me spread the word. And then it's moved more to social media. So Facebook and Instagram. Instagram has been really huge as long as I am also focused and dedicated and putting in the time to make sure I'm updating and marketing myself. So friends and family, social media for sure. And also I try to leave a lot of business cards everywhere. I think that's kind of one of those just simple things. I don't know if marketing has to be complex as people make it. I'm also we're moving my jewelry into other avenues where people can see it more. So stores in DC, hopefully a store in Chicago as well, and just expanding that way. So the more people can kind of see it, the more they see my logo, I think that is really kind of the draw in terms of marketing. Having that memorable logo, having that image, that branding has really, really been able to be a really great push when I'm at an event and somebody says, oh, you know what, I've seen this logo before. I think I follow you, that type of thing. So friends, social media, a lot of humble exposure has definitely, I guess, been my marketing plan as of right now.
And you talked about your logo. Tell us, how did you come up with the name All Things Be Alexis?
You know, it's a little bit selfish, I'll be honest. So I had my first child, my son, in 2012, and I started my business about a year later. As a new mom, I really felt like there wasn't really space for me. Mother, wife, daughter, employee, I had a lot of roles, a lot of responsibilities, and I really wasn't sure, what Bianca wanted or what my direction was in the midst of wearing all of these hats that are extremely important. So All Things Be Alexis, that name came about because I was like, this is really something that I really wanted to do for me, honestly. When I first started, I would say, I'm just trying to make enough money to send my son to Disney World and one day being able to provide him with tiny things or, experiences. But at the end of the day, this is really something that I can pour a little bit of myself into, and also my own creativity and creative spirit that I don't necessarily get to use in my full-time job or in my home life. So all things me, I often describe my line as colorful and creative and clever and chaotic, like life, which is all things that I am right now. So that's kind of how it came to be. And it's really just been able to stay with me. Every now and then I think, maybe I should have named it something else. But, All Things Be Alexis is really my heart.
Yes, and I can tell it sounds like it's authentically you. So thanks for sharing that. Bianca, can you share what is a daily or weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
I treat my business, I carve out time. It's really hard sometimes to go to work and come home and pour into family and then say, okay, now I have to pour into this business. And sometimes I just don't want to. Honestly, I'm exhausted by life. But again, because I know how much this means to me, I really had to be rigorous and mindful about carving out the time. So from 8:30 to 10:30, 4 nights a week, it's business. And so I have a small office, which my husband delightfully calls the sweatshop, where I work. And so at 8:30, that's kind of where I retreat and close the door and work. So whether that's me creating more jewelry or sending out emails or updating social media, etc., I know that this business I have to put in the time the same way, I do for my full-time job. And so being able to consistently carve out that time and a little bit more on weekends, but that's usually when I'm vending and doing some events, I just know that I have to give it the same time and energy as I would if I were being paid by somebody else. And that's been really important.
So, how do you do that? Do you consider that you have blended your personal life, family life with your business, or do you feel that you've balanced your personal life, family life, and your business?
I think I like that you said blended. I think blended is a good way to describe it because there's definitely overlapping in all of it for me. If I'm vending an event that I have to be at and have jewelry and work, but it's an event that's kid friendly, I'm also going to, encourage my husband to bring the kids down later where they can kind of, one, see what mommy does, but also have a good time and I can spend time with them. So I really work hard to try to blend the two, but also knowing that because I'm so passionate about this business, I know that I have to give it a lot of time and energy. And so understanding that sometimes that may take away from what I can do at home. So that is where the balance definitely takes place and has to become important. But being able to blend the two any way I can is important. And one day I'm hopeful that my kids will be proud of what I do. Right now they're 2 and 5, so they might not understand. Well, my 5-year-old will say, "Oh, I love your earrings," but I'm hoping one day he'll ask me to make cufflinks for prom, or I'm hoping one day my daughter will want me to make her something, and also be able to kind of take part in something that makes me happy and make this experience even more blended.
And Bianca, you talked about your husband sounds like he's extremely supportive and your family. Do you set aside date nights? Is that weekly, monthly? Tell me how you do the family time.
Our date nights, I'm sad to say, are very spontaneous. We always try to carve out specific time, and I think that was a little bit easier when we had one child, and then once we had two, I think it became a little bit more difficult. But I'm also blessed to have an amazing supportive mom that lives with us as well. So we do have a little bit of that flexibility when it's like, okay, we're both going to get home from work at 6:30, leave the kids with mom and escape for a little bit. And so sometimes that spontaneity makes it nice as well. Because even when we try to make it more scheduled and planned, I don't know, I think just our personality didn't quite work for us. We do try to plan an annual trip where it's just us, but I think the spontaneity of the date nights kind of works with us where we're able to kind of squeeze it in wherever we can. Or sometimes when I'm doing an event that's more catered to adults, but I think my husband would enjoy, he's definitely always invited and there to support me as well. So being able to give him, the time and being able to balance all that we have going on has been really important for us.
And what is one valuable lesson, Bianca, you wish you knew before starting your business?
Oh my goodness. There's so there's so many. When I started, well, even prior to, I always said I never wanted to work with money. I really again, I guess that's how I got into social services, but I was always overwhelmed and a little bit intimidated by entrepreneurship and the idea of providing goods for money, etc. I was a little bit nervous. I wasn't sure how to price my items, and being able to get the money that I thought I deserved and really understanding what my own worth was really tough. It was really, really tough in the beginning. And so I think some valuable lessons that I've learned has been one, the power of networking is so important. It's so, so important. Networking is not always the easiest, but it's so vital in business growth. I wish there were some opportunities I would have jumped on earlier in terms of networking and kind of extending myself and reaching out to some people that I wanted to learn from. And so I may have missed some of those opportunities, just kind of being a little bit shy or a little bit nervous or just not confident in what I was producing. And so I think now I would definitely say I'm much better at it, and that networking is vital. And sometimes it's not even as big as we make it, but just even within community and mentorship and other business owners. I think that's been the biggest lesson that I've learned is networking and learning how to build a valuable network.
So tell us what's working well for you now in your business.
One, carving the time, definitely. Expanding to new opportunities. I now have my jewelry. Well, for about a year now, I've had my jewelry in a store in the Costia Art Center. And so having that consistent visibility or a space where people can always access my jewelry has been extremely helpful, more so than online. Like, I understand how important online sales are, but I am one of those people who like to see things up close and feel and touch them. So when I had the opportunity to put my jewelry in a store, it just made sense because I always want people to be able to access it and experience it firsthand. And so with that, from being in the den and in the art center, I was able to just gain other opportunities of exposure. Then my jewelry was in the museum store at the Phillips Collection in honor of their Jacob Lawrence exhibit. And so that was just a tremendous moment for me to have that honor of being in that store, celebrating such an amazing series of work. So that has been just that exposure and being able to have people touch it, see it, access it, and make it readily available, more so than when I'm vending. I do a lot of community events and I'm kind of all over the place with them. But being able to say to somebody, this is where you can reach it and touch it at least 6 days a week has been probably my greatest success.
So tell me, Bianca, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give to a younger you?
Be bold, be confident, believe in yourself. I get so, and this is my own reality, I get very nervous about really stepping out on faith and trying something new and following through with it. So being a little bit fearless. A good friend of mine described me recently as a doer. And she said, you know what, Bianca, you have an idea and you just do it. You just go. And I told her, like, that's very new for me because a lot of times I would be very nervous and afraid. And that was a lot of the younger me. So I would definitely tell the younger me, just do. It's okay to try new things and to experience and to learn from, because I don't believe in mistakes, just opportunities for learning. And so really being able to take some of those things that I believe were risks, I wish I would have done at a younger age. I wish I would have known more about business and small business and entrepreneurship at a younger age, because I can only imagine how much further I would be now if I knew, what I knew then.
So you mentioned that you have 2 young children. How are you going to inspire them or give them that entrepreneurial lesson at a very young age? And what age do you think it's good for you to start that process?
I tell people as soon as my kids are strong enough to cut a straight line, I would love to make sure that I can at least teach them how to help mommy cut this fabric. But also I think the younger, the better. So my son is 5, and we're already starting to have some conversations and concepts of money. And I think that that's really important. And being able to just encourage them to dream and to dream big. I come from an amazingly large Jamaican family where there are multiple aunts and uncles that have always had various streams of income. So I've always seen entrepreneurship, but for some reason it always frightened me. And so I don't want that for my kids. So I like the fact that they can, even though they may be too young to understand, I like the fact that they can see me creating something and then going to a place where I am selling it or people are engaged with me because of it. I like the fact that they can see that now. And so I'm hoping that we'll one day have that same interest. But whatever they decide to do, I support 100%. But the idea of growing wealth, and also I'm very passionate about supporting Black business. I think that it's one thing that I always want to make sure that they're aware of as well.
And speaking of Black businesses, what can we do to ignite the fire within our community to inspire more individuals that look like us to become entrepreneurs?
That's a good question. I think, again, starting young. So any opportunity to mentor young people or to inspire or just talk to a young person about entrepreneurship and about what it looks like. I think also just making sure that there's a very broad framework of what entrepreneurship looks like, that it's not necessarily large Fortune 500 companies, even though that's great, but also supporting small business, whether it be restaurants or local artists or clothing designers, etc. Just knowing that there is a very broad scape of what that looks like. And so making sure that young people in our community knows the importance of support and encouraging and yes, shopping from people that look like us. And the fact that also when you support a small business, it's more than just buying a good, it's adding groceries to my home or putting money towards that date night. Those things are extremely important. And I love supporting Black business, and the majority of my clients are Black, and I definitely appreciate that. And this is always my soapbox, but I love it when we support Black business without necessarily asking for a discount.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's very important.
Absolutely. Bianca, who are your top 2 influencers in your life, and what lessons did they teach you?
That's a powerful question because I don't know if I can really narrow it down to specific people. I think I am surrounded by a really great network of mompreneurs. So other entrepreneurs who are mothers and balancing work and life and incorporating the two. There's something for me that I see that's just a little bit different when that may not be the case. And so I've really been able to surround myself with other women who have dreams and vision and goals for not only for themselves, but that really encompass their whole family. And so that's been, just unbelievable in terms of the support, the ideas, the brainstorming, the creativity that I can gain from a lot of these women, and even ideas on how to balance motherhood and work, even when sometimes it's hard, because I want to be able to spend time with the kids every weekend and do all those things, but I also know that this business is very important to me as well. And so I think the other mompreneurs I know have been the biggest influencers. And my mother, every time I leave the house, she gives me words of encouragement. And when things don't go well or if I don't feel like they're successful, her encouragement has been extremely powerful. So I always look to my inner circle and my community as the people that influence me the most.
Bianca, we're going to shift gears a minute and let's talk about risk or failure, however you want to define this one. What is the worst moment in business and what was the takeaway?
I had this, what I felt was a brilliant idea. I wanted to expand and do a line of bow ties. I do not sew at all. But I had this amazingly great idea of these bow ties that I was going to make complimentary jewelry with so I can do this his or hers. I was very, very excited about it. I found a seamstress. I poured a lot of time and money into it, and it did not turn out well at all. At all. And so my biggest takeaway from that at the time was that I wasn't necessarily in a position to outsource my vision, if that makes sense. I needed to pull back and focus on what I could create and what I could have a little bit of control over, and research a little bit more before I take such big leaps that can be very costly. And just take my time. Even though I'm a doer, I think that was one mistake that I made where I didn't think it through. And I just leaped at the idea because I thought it was going to be great. And in the end, I will definitely admit I felt very defeated because I thought I had this brilliant idea that just did not come together in the way that I thought it would. So that's really encouraged me to take a step back and even plan my quarters and my year a little bit better in terms of what it is that I want to do or how I want to expand, and being mindful of what I can manage and what I can't.
And speaking of bow ties, are you familiar with Mo Bridges? He does, I think, Mo bows.
I think I've heard of it. I follow quite a few. That's the other thing I try to do too, is follow quite a few businesses and Black-owned businesses, especially on Instagram, because there's just so much inspiration and just ways to, just ideas and encouragement that I think is great. Somebody once told me that there's enough out here, there's enough money out here for everybody. And so it shouldn't always be about competition. I'm a firm believer in collaboration, especially having worked in nonprofit as long as I have. I know the importance, especially there, in collaborating in order to meet the needs of the community. And so I think with business, it's the same way, being able to collaborate, to grow instead of competing and trying to hold on to key secrets. But no, I have not yet heard of Mo Bridges, but I will definitely check out Mobo's.
Yes, absolutely. He's a very young entrepreneur and he's just doing amazing things. So we always want to lift up Black entrepreneurs on our show. And I just wanted to throw that out there just for you to check it out. Bianca, I want you to talk to the person in our audience. They want to start a business. They are fearful. They are currently working a 9-to-5 job. What advice would you offer them?
If there's an idea that you have and you know someone who is doing something similar, ask for advice, ask for support and mentorship. Surround yourself with people who will not only encourage you, but also be honest with you. I think that's so key. We don't necessarily need a whole group of cheerleaders. Sometimes we need people who can give us some honest advice and constructive criticism. So finding that person who can help as a guide, I think, is key. Also, starting small, write it down. I write down everything, goals, visions, plans. Just write it down and see what steps really need to take, what steps you really need to take to make it happen, who needs to be involved, and how you can ask for that help. And also take your time, and also understand that your 9-to-5 job, those are your investors as well. Because again, that money, the profit, takes some time to come. And so even though we are often, I know myself, have that feeling where I just want to leap and do this full time, I know that the income is not quite there yet. So I also have to give the same passion and focus in my day job as I do in my business. I think that's important for people who are newly starting out, to know what your hope is and your end goal in terms of financial.
And Bianca, one of the things that you said, I love what you said about looking at your 9-to-5 as your investors. It's just another way to give you that encouragement to stay the course. And you also talked about finding a mentor. And I think about early on and when I was starting one of my ventures, and I had got involved with an organization and they had mentors and mentees. And I was a mentee and I had a mentor, and she was mentoring individuals that had wanted to start or had started their business. And she, unbeknownst to me, was not comfortable with the fact that I still held a 9 to 5 gig. And so she couldn't personally mentor me because of that. And so that's another takeaway, is that someone else's journey is not necessarily your journey. And that's the reason we interview successful Black entrepreneurs on Black Entrepreneur Experience, to encourage and inspire and ignite others in our community to take that journey of becoming an entrepreneur, take on the entrepreneurial mindset, and remember that it's more than one way to start a successful business, and it's more than one way to start. So I thank you for that profound advice about mentorship, and even just the word consciousness about looking at your current job as investors, and that in itself will take you a long way just in terms of your mentality. So thanks for that.
Absolutely. No problem.
Bianca, what book would you recommend to our audience and why?
I liked one of the first books I ever read was The Barefoot Executive by Carrie Wilkerson. And I really liked it because I felt like she gave very simple, concrete, easy to follow examples and experience and guides for getting your business off the ground and just working towards that financial freedom. I loved it because it just felt like I could read it and put it into action the same day or within that week. It was very simple and straightforward. And so it's definitely one of those things that I occasionally go back and reference. So The Barefoot Executive, I think, was one of my first tools and one that I definitely appreciate to this day.
So Bianca, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you? And I want you to ask the question and also give our audience the answer.
Maybe how much sleep do I get? No. I love the question about defining success. I know you asked it, but I spoke recently at a group of students at my high school in Illinois about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things I talked to them about, one, I asked them their goals, and I also asked them what they did well. And so a lot of them talked about wanting to be happy and wanting to be successful. And one of the things I left them with was the reminder that your views of success will always change, or your definition of success, I should say, will always change. Your definition of happiness will always change and shift and grow. And I think we need to really be open to that. What looks like success, for me right now might look different later as my business grows and as I work to try new things and step into other arenas. Success will look different. But I think it's also important to know at the core, for me, that again, success is being a catalyst for someone else's happiness and joy. If they find that in my joy, that's definitely my hope. But being fluid and open to the change and the journey that is entrepreneurship, because it really is a journey that is unlike anything I've ever done. But I am so happy and so grateful and so humbled by where it's taken me so far.
So Bianca, can you share with our audience a parting piece of advice you want to offer?
Be bold and be brave and be brilliant. I think that we can't get bogged down and scared and just riddled in fear when it comes to entrepreneurship. Know your values, know your worth, know your strength, and share it with others. It truly is priceless. And remain humble, because at the end of the day, it's really about providing something for someone else. So that feedback and those critiques and that appreciation that you get from customers or clients is really what keeps the business going. So always appreciate those who appreciate you.
So now we've come to the part of our show where we call it the Fun Facts Lightning Round. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I'd like you to give us very quick answers on that. And so are you ready for the lightning round?
I am ready. Thank you.
Bianca, the last movie you saw?
Trolls.
You relaxed doing what?
Sleeping.
Your
And taking walks.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Jill Scott.
Your favorite dance song?
Oh, right now, Can't Stop the Feeling, again from Trolls.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Rice. Ugh, I'm trying to give it up, but it's a lot of rice.
And your favorite month?
January. Absolutely.
Bianca, it is truly an honor. We are so grateful that you joined us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. And so, can you let our audience know what is the best way for them to connect with you?
I think the best way right now is my website, www.allthingsbealexis.com. From there, they can send emails and comments. They can see my jewelry. They can also find out where I'm going to be next in terms of events. And they can also find out great information about my scholarship fund. And there's also a blog. So I love to send people to the website because it's kind of one-stop shop.
Bianca, thank you so much. That's a wrap. We appreciate you being on Black Entrepreneur Experience. If we can do anything to promote your business, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Riches. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.